Greetings, ladies and metal-gents, and welcome to today's narration of the web series The Drums of War, which is in the Sneakyverse Book 2. If you're new to the series, there are playlists listed down below in the description, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 2, Dirge. On a sunny, small-town street on Sanctuary, Lisa Anderson was watching her two young sons play some kind of game with the other neighborhood children that involved throwing a hard rubber ball at each other, while trying to avoid being hit themselves. When her Charlie was only 5, she would have fretted over such a violent game, but she's since given up on having boys who sit quietly and play gently. Boys were strange creatures to come home all smiles yet covered in bruises, and again, she had long given up on understanding the why in favor of just loving her beautifully rambunctious boys. They were already so much like their father. The easy smile that had adorned her face slipped away as a black speck in the sky resolved itself into a stately grav car coming in for a landing, rather than speeding along to a more likely destination. This was Honor Guard Place, and while not every family was related to a current serviceman of that formation, and some other families lived elsewhere, every family in that little town was connected to the Honor Guard somehow, which had given the families a sense of shared comfort in the fact that their husbands, fathers, and occasionally wives and mothers were relatively safe while serving. Something caught in her throat as she wondered who had suffered a tragic accident, and which of the Xenos Nation's substandard constructions had caused it. However, when the car landed and the Major stepped out, she had to clutch her porch railing to keep her feet because the officer made his way straight to her. "Where's John?" she demanded, as she watched the Republican naval infantry officer harden his resolve. He stopped at the steps up to the porch and saluted. "Ma'am, it is my sorrowful duty to inform you that your husband, Sergeant Jonathan Anderson, fell in battle against an aggressive xenoforce at his duties to defend the civilians of the Among Startides we sing, and the diplomatic corps. I'm sorry." Lisa shrieked as she threw herself at the aging officer. "No, you dirty liar!" she cried out as she struck his face. "You bring him back! You bring him back! Now!" she howled as she tore half of the ribbon block for his chest blues and beat his chest with the ribbon still clutched in her fist. The man stood there and absorbed the beating without so much as breaking the salute, until she sagged against him with a wordless wail and clutched at his uniform. "I'm sorry, ma'am. Your husband was witnessed, though his remains are not received." The sobbing woman seemed to regain some of her strength as she declared, "I am not burying an empty casket on repose." "Aye, ma'am. We will wait until such time as recovery operations are commenced, and you will be kept informed of his status." And was leading his little brother over to see his mother. His daddy didn't cry when he lost friends. Charlie could be strong like that. Strong for his mommy and little brother. Lisa's eyes followed the Major as he trudged back to the grav car, replaced his uniform top, rearranged the ribbon block, and walked towards the house next door. With growing horror, she realized it was not just her tragedy, not just her boys who lost their daddy. 18 houses later, and the RNI Major was seated in the sitting room of Mitchell's after giving them the news of their son. Veterans both, they knew the loss for what it was, and sought each other's embrace with the quiet solace of shared grief. Their grandson was only 18 and had just lost his father, and after his mother abandoned the family, James Sr. was James Jr.'s entire world. "Who killed him?" the man spat. "A genocidal faction of Xenos called the Izak. It is unknown whether it is a small faction or a monoracial empire. They have conquered the clans of Aldra and are currently ritualistically exterminating them." "I'm joining the RNI," he declared as he leapt to his feet and shot a challenging glare around the room. "JJ, you're still too young." "I'm 18. It is my right to serve. You're both citizens, and you can't stop me. It's every civilian's right to volunteer." "Aye, ma'am." "He's right," the Major said solemnly. "But if you think the Navy will give you a shot to kill the commander who ordered that attack, you're wrong. If you can't keep your head, they'll put you on border duty by Roma Nova. I don't care. Dad only ever served the Republic, and I can't just sit here and enjoy that without helping." The Major stood, snapped off a salute, and took his leave. 40 houses to go. In the city of Foundation, on the planet Hope, Michael Nguyen was neglecting his job. To be fair, being an accountant didn't take very much effort on his part. But in the past few days, he couldn't focus even on what little demands of his talents were demanded by the spreadsheets. Instead, the video he had been watching for days on end demanded the whole of his attention. His ears were laid back, his tail lashed the ground, and his muzzle was contorted into a snarl as he watched the vile sacrifice ritual intercut with the last stand on the honor guard, and ending with the teenage girl's screams followed by Corporal Lawrence's whisper of "Witness me." Then text filled the screen. "Remember the we sing." "Remember the we sing," he whispered as he made up his mind. He was a Republican civilian, and he had taken all of his freedom and privileges for granted, scoffing at the citizens for putting themselves in unnecessary risk for a mere social title. He saw now that it was a very necessary risk that he was willing to shoulder. He wasn't the only accountant who walked out of that office. He wasn't even the first. On Texan, Texas, and New Beta, Dallas, Staff Sergeant Marcus Johnson fought exhaustion as another civilian screamed at him, "Put a fucking rifle in my hands right the feck now! I know how to fucking shoot!" "Sir, nobody skips aptitude placement, the medical exam, or basic training at MOS school. If you really want to fight, you're going to have to follow the law like everyone else. Please review these papers and sign..." The furious Texan scrawled his name on the papers at once. "Fine, but you just watch. I'm going to be a drop trooper. I'm sure you will, sir. Please take your papers to the waiting room upstairs and wait for your physical," Staff Sergeant Johnson said as the Texan stormed towards the stairwell. "Next!" "You put me in the pilot seat right the feck now," a Texan woman was screeching at the moment she stepped in. "Ma'am," he began again, and resigned himself to absorbing the fury of civilians who had never before taken a thought for the cost of their freedoms. Some arsehole yelled, "Remember the we sing," which of course caused the cry to go up with the whole press of furious Texans for the 8th time that day. Aboard the flagship of the Lord Admiral Council of the Star Sailors, Lord Admiral Yovkron nodded to his fellow Lord Admirals and nodded. There was nothing to discuss. Before they'd even come together upon the Withwise Council, we chart the stars. They had communicated their intentions. The Star Sailors would sound the drums of war. "Ancient names have been recommissioned. The Let Our Foes Tremble wears a new hull. The Our Dead Cry Out for Justice has subsumed a Justicar, and other names unspoken for centuries adorn our ships. The captains do not wait for our word, so we must command an evacuation fleet. Those too young must be kept from danger, and there needs to be those to tend to their needs far from the front." "Aye," said Lord Admiral Brexit. "We go to war. I do hereby commission the construction of a new warship. Among the star tides, we rage." "It is so," the council intoned together. "Let the orders be written," Lord Admiral Yovkron said. End of chapter. I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.